Welcome to another episode of Behind the Creator. So, I've had some friends ask me a few questions they want answered about schizophrenia. One of them asks, what are some of the biggest challenges you face? So, aside from anyone else having a basic challenge that is normal, there's the challenge of being healthy and having a healthy mindset at all times. Basically, you have to live a life that's healthy. You have to make healthy choices every day. Because if you make an unhealthy choice, your symptoms get worse. And as your symptoms get worse, your life worsens. And as your life worsens, you approach death. What do you wish people understood about schizophrenia? It would be really nice if the media would stop claiming that crimes are committed by only crazy people, especially when they're white. It's not fair that somebody from another country is called a terrorist and local terrorism is defined as mental illness. Mental illness is not going to cause you to commit a crime. Your personality may be different from everyone, and you may have an experience that leads you to commit a crime, but chances are it's not mental illness that causes you to commit a crime. There are delusional thinking that can lead to a criminal activity, but in all fair, I've met so many people with schizophrenia. None of them are criminals. They have terrible pasts, huge traumas that led to their illness. And the way the news portrays it is disgusting. I really wish people would be more, compassionate about people with schizophrenia. How do you feel about your diagnosis? I don't know. I feel it is something. It's a part of me, but it's not my whole life. I mean, it has become part of my whole life. I often tell strangers when I meet them, I have schizophrenia, and it's only because I know I'm going to do or say something that is unique to me, but strange to them. Really, I think the illness is just something that doesn't confirm a bias in others. And so part of it is the disassociation between self and others, but it's also the fact that society can't accept the beliefs or statements of somebody with schizophrenia. How did it feel to get your diagnosis? Well, it didn't hurt. It didn't feel good. I went through the phase where it's like, oh no, I failed. I've not succeeded at being completely whole and human. But if you think about it, Christ was a human. Christ was an alcoholic. That is something which many consider to not be whole or human. So it's associated with so many problems in life, and I felt it was life-changing to a degree. It helped me get off the streets, but it didn't hurt, and it really helped that my family helped, because no, it never caused tension for my family. It has caused tension for people that I don't know, who I try to meet. For instance, I have this alcoholic neighbor who decided that I don't have schizophrenia, but somehow I'm delusional. He also liked to gaslight me, and I think it's because I have schizophrenia that he targets me. I don't really appreciate him. I kind of want to get out of this apartment and live somewhere else because of him, actually. But it has caused problems in communication behaviors and other dysfunctions of just trying to talk to people that are portrayed negatively in the media. So, the biggest one is like, oh, we've got to curse people, or we've got to hold up people to standards. But really, it's just life. What is something most people experience that is unrelated to schizophrenia that is different for you because of your schizophrenia? I would think it's partly love. It's partly prayer. I can go to the woods and pray for water, and I will find a bottle of water. I can go to the woods and think, what is God like? And I will see a fairy or a shiny being, or I will talk to, for instance, a lizard, and that lizard will somehow respond to me. It's as if I am connected to a higher power, but at the same time, it's not accepted by others, and so it's looked at as a mental illness. At the same time, the experience of love is maybe different. I don't know how to explain it. Like the attachment of someone you only knew for a minute as being seen as so important, but there's no reason for it to be. It's a bit of cleanness almost, except you're more independent. What is the most frustrated thing you hear people say about schizophrenia? So, the most frustrating one is that someone for stating an experience or a belief is somehow wrong because it doesn't affirm a bias in someone else. And honestly, the thing with mental illness in general is it's not going to confirm somebody else's normal bias. Everybody has at least one confirmation bias or another bias, and they expect information presented to them to confirm those biases. But the thing is, a lot of times people with mental health can't confirm those biases because they're so hurt and damaged. You know, I've been trying to get better since 2012, and I haven't stopped since. I've done therapy, I've done meds, I've done prayer and spirituality, I've grounded in nature, just sitting under a tree writing poetry, and it has helped me a lot. Sometimes I have to find positive messages and songs and just listen to those when times get dark, and I connect to those messages. It's very meaningful to me, and I grow through it. What was your early childhood and teenage years like? I was like a loner for my teenage years. Childhood was interesting. I remember I would have dreams, and sometimes they were traumas from my past, experiences from my past that I couldn't cognitively think of until I was asleep, such as being on tour with the Grateful Dead when I was a child, well, an infant, or being homeless in Chicago with my family, or having an abusive father. That just sort of, that trauma gets, left out of your memory for the most part, and you experience it through dreams. A lot of my teenage years, I would have dreams about tests before I took them, and I would see the answers to the tests. Usually they were right. A lot of times I felt very lonely as a teenager. I didn't really connect with friends outside of school. I spent a lot of time from the age of 12 and onward in the basement programming every day. I don't know, I felt I should invest in my skills more than social life as a teenager and preteen. So instead of going to parties, chasing girls, or getting drunk, I would sit at home, think of some idea I wanted to program, and create it. And I didn't take classes on a lot of my hobbies. I would just learn how to do it on my own and go from there, keep building experience until I got better at it. What were you like before the schizophrenia, and how has your personality changed because of it? I'm probably a lot more aware now that I have the diagnosis of my internal cognitions and my internal workings, to where I can know when I need to remove myself from a situation before it gets ugly, or like stop watching a news broadcast or anything of that nature which could cause me undue pain and suffering that leads to symptoms. The biggest thing with schizophrenia is that stress will trigger symptoms. And if someone or something causes you undue stress, the best solution I can tell you is to remove it from your life, try not to give it rent in your head, and continue creating a positive message that you can share with others. If you could live your life without schizophrenia, would you? No, I wouldn't. Honestly, one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had was being homeless the third time. It was like walking with God. If I didn't have schizophrenia, I don't know what it would be like. But it was like you walk down a highway and you see an eagle flying. You stop walking, it stops flying. You talk to it, and the next minute you look down, there's a red-tailed hawk feather. So, no, I wouldn't live without it. My understanding, I won the genetic lottery. I get paid to live. I don't get paid to do an activity every day that contributes to society, but I still try to contribute to society by making friendships, meaningful connections, creating meaningful works and projects that I hope can be shared with the world. How do you get better? So a lot of people believe that a medicine will treat you for anything. We have that with we don't really have it with the cold, but we have it with flus and vaccines. But there's no vaccine for schizophrenia. It's not something that is essentially only chemical. It's genetic, it's traumatic, it's part of you from the core of your being and awoke through traumas. At least that's what my therapist told me, and I accept that. It seems like it's very reasonable that I've had schizophrenia my whole life. Just it didn't come out incredibly problematic for me until I was an adult in college. You don't get better by just taking meds. You've got to do therapy. You've got to change your lifestyle and the way you think. You have to start practicing healthy affirmations. You have to create an environment for yourself that is healthy to your condition, sound of mind and principle, and hopefully healthy for others. And you want to avoid at all costs anything which basically destroys your sense of self. Anyways, thank you for watching.